Would you like to take over, Aryana?
Yes, thank you. Michael, please start. I'm going to share the screen.
Yep. All right. Thank you very much for setting up that background and foundation. So what we're going to be talking about today is share the screen. There you go. Is a part of a project, and this is part of Aryana's PhD, where we're looking at what do Victorian local government councils incorporate in terms of environmental sustainable activities within their purchasing policies. Next slide, Aryana, please. So as Mayuri mentioned, 15 to 30% of most countries' GDP is represented by governmental expenditure. And therefore, they have a critical role, both in terms of as consuming goods with virgin raw materials or recycled raw materials, but also importantly as motivating other firms to supply alternative products that they can use to assist them. And as prices for raw materials are increasing, organizations are looking to reduce costs and reusing existing materials in a circular economy way, because all materials have value that is not being leveraged. And if we have raw materials we throw away, we have waste, which we call waste, which gets thrown away, the value that could be extracted is lost. And basically, this all relies to this linear economy perspective where we acquire new goods, we use them, we dispose of them. Okay. In a circular economy, it doesn't work that way. We have resources that we utilize. When we're finished utilizing them, we either can reprocess them or extract value for other systems. So the goods or the materials do not go out of the system, they just circle within the system, maybe in a different way, but they still circle within the system. And we basically found that governments, at least in purchasing, aren't behaving appropriately. So what we did is we did a content analysis of the 79 Victorian government's procurement policies that are available on their website. Aryana, next. And to do this, we looked at a couple different things. We basically followed what's called the SMART principles. SMART principles apply to any policy or procedure. They should be clear. And in this case, we're talking about whether the concepts and terms are clearly defined. So within ours, we had 3 components of clarity in terms of definition. Do they define sustainability? Do they define sustainable purchasing? Do they define circular economy? Because if we don't define it, we actually don't know what we're actually measuring. The second area in SMART is measuring. Do we actually know what we're doing? And actually, to know what we're doing, as we'll talk about later, requires that we know what we're doing now so we can know if we're getting better or worse. So, the only way we can know, my wife says I need to lose weight. The only way she can figure out if I did is knowing how much I weigh now. If she doesn't know how much I weigh now, she won't know if I lose any weight or not. So we look at requirements for measuring, and they can be done in a number of ways. It could be talking about, do they talk about the minimum percentage of recycled content required in purchased materials? Do they talk about how materials are assessed for sustainability, environmental characteristics? Do they do life cycle testing? Do they talk about how much we allocate is in terms of weighting of sustainability attributes in contracts or tenders, including price? The next part of SMART is A. And A, different interpretations of SMART use different A's. We talk about assignability. Is there somebody responsible to make things happen? So who's responsible for the purchase of green goods? Who's performing sustainability tests? Who's making sure that we're achieving objectives and targets? Who performs these tests? Now, it might be external to the organization, but someone needs to be documenting how things are progressing. The R in SMART is realistic. Our targets clearly articulated. What are we trying to do? What are we trying to do? And it relates to T, both in the short term and the long term. So where are we going and where are we heading? And where are we now? Next, Aryana. Okay, so this study basically looks at 2 critical questions. How green are local purchasing policies? Are they be part of the problem or are they part of the solution to addressing circular economy? And how can local councils help by purchasing goods containing recycled materials? But as I said, their policies also shift businesses and consumer attitudes and behaviors, creating opportunities for new products to be developed. And I'll pass you over to Aryana. I'll come back at the end who talk a bit about the results of the study.
Thank you very much, Michael. Yes, so I guess the importance of the purchasing policies is because of this set of purchasing policies and guidelines directly affects their purchasing performance and the efficiency of the products that they purchase. And also, if there is no efficient and proper purchasing policy, then how the organizations and governments can communicate with the manufacturers and other sectors of the economy to make their standards and expectations of the products that they're looking at to be clear, so that the manufacturers and suppliers can design and provide the high standard products that would meet the requirements of the buyers. In summary, after assessing the purchasing policies using the SMART criteria that we developed, to be specific, we looked into how well they defined the three key terms of sustainability, circular economy, and sustainable procurement. As you can see, the red bars here show that the purchasing policy did not include the definition at all in the first bar. 24 policy out of 79 did not include the definitions of sustainability, sustainable procurement, and circular economy at all. But for example, 22 out of 79 did include the definition for sustainability only, and 33 included the definitions of sustainability plus one of those two others. So in terms of how well the purchasing policies did perform, I would say, based on this bar chart, they did not bad in terms of defining those terms. Not good, but not bad. And also in terms of being realistic for setting goals, we can see that 21 did not set any goals at all, but 56 did somehow um, uh, 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 set goals, but they're rated as medium. As you can see, the yellow bar stands for medium, and this is because the goals were set as general goals, not related to purchasing waste-derived goods specifically. So there were general goals, so we did not rate them as high or exceeding our expectations. And in terms of being measurable or assignable and time-bound, the purchasing policies overall did not do well. 72 out of 79 did not include any measurable criteria, did not set any criteria for measuring how to conduct quality and durability tests, or did not specifically mention how much recycled content is required for the products that they're looking at. Or for example, 71 out of 79 policies did not even mention who exactly is responsible for example, monitoring the procurement policy process, who is responsible for conducting those tests, or who is responsible for making key decisions towards the purchasing decisions. And in regards to setting time-bound goals, we were expecting policies to set short and long-term goals. Unfortunately, 76 out of 79 local councils did not provide explicitly long-term and short-term goals. One of the key findings of our study was that the number of the times that key words in the context of sustainable purchasing, such as sustainability, circular economy, green, or life cycle, and recycled, does not have a relationship with how well these purchasing policies are actually performing in terms of integrating environmental issues. So for example, Council 61 included sustainability 17 times in the text, 0 times for circular economy, 4 times for recycled, and 6 times for life cycle, and 3 times for green. They achieved a medium rating for being specific and a medium rating for being realistic, but it did not include any criteria for measurable, assignable, and time bound. On the other hand, another local council, Council 23, mentioned sustainability 11 times less than 61, Council 61, and mentioned life cycle 3 times less, and did not even mention green at all. But the only local council that was rated as exceed, which was the best rating amongst the 395 ratings, was Council 23, and also they achieved high in terms of being realistic, which is in overall we can say it's better than C61. So they had a relatively low number of key terms used in their text, but they did better. So we can't say using those key terms and talking more about them necessarily means that they are doing better in terms of integrating these issues in their policy. And by integrating and using SMART criteria, we can use these criteria to develop and conduct tests for assessing how well policies are written in other aspects as well, not necessarily just sustainable procurement. The interesting thing about the policies were that the policies did not do that bad in terms of defining key terms. So 42 of the policies define sustainability using the same terminology, which was relatively aligned with the one available from the literature. 21 out of 79 did define sustainable procurement using a similar terminology, which was also close to the one available in the literature. But unfortunately, none of the local councils defined circular economy using a definition that was included in the literature, and only 4 of them that define circular economy used definitions that were very different. To summarize our results, I can say that 67% and more than 94% of the councils did not define sustainable procurement and circular economy at all. And the 4 that I said mentioned circular economy, they used different definitions. Only one of the councils, as we mentioned earlier, was rated as exceed in only one criteria, which was about providing time-bound goals. And 6 councils had all of the 5 criteria missing, which was interesting. So they didn't include none of them at all. More than 67% of the criteria were rated as did not even exist. So I can conclude that more than 67% at least did not perform well in terms of integrating sustainability issues into their purchasing. And one other point was that the length of the policies were ranged from 5 to 62 pages, and the average of the pages were 22.7. I apologize for the mistake here. So after we rated the policies, we came up with suggestions, a template that the governmental bodies and organizations can use to have a better, more efficient purchasing policy that successfully, efficiently integrates sustainability issues into their purchasing. The first suggestion in regards to being specific was defining the key terms. So we have suggested the local councils to define sustainability, sustainable procurement, and circular economy using these terms. And then the second suggestions was related to measurability. So the measurability suggestions were, for example, the local councils are recommended to set a minimum requirement of recycled content required in their purchases. It should be very clear. For example, they should include at least X% of recycled content is required in the goods that they're purchasing, or for example, they should include a price premium for the tenders that they are having for their purchases, so that, for example, if a recycled product is 10% more expensive compared to an original product, the offices or the purchasing manager or the team members will preferably buy the product that is 10% more expensive but made of recycled content. Also, we have suggested that they need to include testing criteria for quality and sustainability issues.